right, welcome to Rams Week, my baby. We are officially here. It seems like the season just ended. Seems like it was just all of us falling to our knees after Vildor dropped that interception. It
Damn.
the Jameer Gibbs fumble, the Jamison Williams touchdown that erupted every single household here in Detroit. That gave us that big cushion in the first half, and then things all fell apart. Seems like we just drafted Terrion Arnold. No joke. It do seem like the draft was just around the corner.
Yeah.
And we were doing shows
Yep.
about that, man. Free agency, the Cam Sutton situation with him reportedly tossing a woman out of a window, whatever it was that was going on. It seems like it was just around the corner, but man, did the season come quick enough for you?
Yeah. Like I said, it's a process, man. It's like I said last night, and you hit it, man, because it's like when we lost, it was like, okay, as soon as I think the next day you text me, or maybe a week after, you was like, man, we got to get our draft stuff going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We in draft mode. You know what I'm saying? That's how we built like that. With this NFL. But yeah, I mean, to me, it served its purpose. I think I like the NFL offseason part of it, because if you lose like the Lions did, and it was a heartbreaking fashion, I think it makes the team more hungry. And I don't think it's BS when Dan Campbell say, listen, we ain't even talking about what happened last year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they know it's there. Obviously, that's for me. Well, I'm just saying for myself. I think this team gonna have a good start to the season, man. I think that was sometimes things, blessings come and you don't realize it's a blessing until it happened, and then you realize, like, how close you were, and it shows what you're made of. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna fold, and like you said, if you're gonna get down and feel sorry for yourself, you know what I'm saying, then that's another story. But I don't think this team built like that. I think Ben Johnson was the first domino to fall. Didn't take a job. I was really remember we was saying, like, is Ben Johnson gonna leave? Is he gonna go somewhere? Take one of these head
Is
coach
Aaron
jobs?
Glenn
Aaron
gonna
Glenn.
dip? Yeah.
Yeah. You thought maybe we're gonna have two new coordinators. Remember the Jared Goff contract situation was over this team head at first. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of questions, a little bit. You know what I'm saying? What was gonna happen? So the draft was incredible. I mean, like I said, I can't just say it enough how proud. I'm pretty. You feel the same way. Just from the process and drafting Terry Arnold, trading up to get him. And it was sort of like we didn't know what the Lions were kind of going to do. You know what I'm saying? We knew all the options were open in the draft. They wound up getting Arnold and Rakestraw. Yeah, I like it, Walt. And to me, I think it's the process. Obviously we love football, so it takes longer, it seems, for the season to come back. But man, we here. So yeah, this is our season, man. It's our time, to talk about this team and cover this team all season. I'm just excited to, be here another year, man. You know what I mean? And we enjoy doing what we do. So, you know what I'm saying? It's all good. Yeah.
All right, man. Let's give these people what they want. Let's jump straight into the Rams. All right, so I want to reflect back on 2023. We did manage to beat the Rams in a wild card round. I think that was
Mhm.
probably the greatest Lions win we've seen. I mean, I know
Yeah.
you a few years older than me, but since 1991, that
Hmm.
was the greatest Detroit Lions win we've ever seen.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, because it meant so much. It meant
Yep.
so much to this team, and then being able to get it against Matthew Stafford, the former quarterback of this
Yeah.
team, made it even sweeter. But if you look at the Rams last season, they were pretty good offensively. Stafford had his issues health wise. I think he was dealing with a shoulder injury, if I'm not mistaken, last season, off and on.
Yeah.
They were still overall a top 10, fringe top 10 offense in majority of the categories. Defensively, they had some issues. Last year, they were 30th in the league in takeaways. They were 20th in the league in yards given up. They were 31st in fumbles, like takeaway. Like overall, they just couldn't take the ball away. Period. Last season,
Yeah.
25th in pass attempts, 20th in yards given up. They were 22nd in the league in rushing touchdowns, giving up 23rd in the league in interceptions. So this was a team last season that they were young. Let's get that out the way first and
Mhm.
foremost. They're young again this year too,
Yeah.
in some pretty good spots. But this was a young ass team last season. I said it as much, maybe more than anybody else. I felt that Sean McVay should have got a few more coach of the year votes than he got, considering
Yeah.
the fact that he was able to get that team to the playoffs, a team that young. Now he had a veteran quarterback, but he had a veteran quarterback who was beat up off and on. So for him to be able to steer the ship and get that team to the playoffs, I thought was very impressive. Very, very impressive. Now, you go to the Rams draft, they got two players. I think you and I both wanted in
Mhm.
Braden
Yeah.
Fisk and Jared Verse. But
Yeah.
if we go to the roster
Mhm.
right now, I'm go straight to the 53-man roster right now. I want to go to the quarterback situation first. Of course, we all know who Matthew Stafford is around here. Stetson Bennett, former national championship winning quarterback of the Georgia Bulldogs, had his issues last season. He's back
Yeah.
on the roster for them. They're only going into the season with two quarterbacks on the active roster. Jimmy Garoppolo is serving the 2-game suspension for violating NFL's policy on performance enhancing substance, which I found
What?
ironic. You know,
What?
what is he taking?
Yeah, what is you, dude? I'm surprised he even still on the roster, bro.
Maybe he felt like, listen,
Man,
I can't lose my backup job. I need to enhance. I need to enhance some things on my body.
man, he need to go.
So let me cheat a little bit.
Yeah, he need to go be on,
but
be an actor or something right now at this point.
all right. So let's start with Matthew, man. What are your overall thoughts on Matthew at this point in time?
Yeah, man. Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback, man. I think this, and I don't want to sound harsh by saying this, but I don't care about Matthew Stafford like that. I don't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he. How do I say it without even being, but without sounding mean? It's just like, okay, what Stafford remind me of losing, man. That's what I get. You know what I'm saying? Just like, if I bet if you would ask the Rams how they feel about Jared Goff, like he didn't get it done. You know what I'm saying? And then Stafford, they ultimately trade teams, and then Stafford gets it done. You know what I'm saying? So now he's got, you know what I'm saying? Stafford's got the upper hand right now. Obviously, yes, he's more talented than Jared Goff. That's apparent. You know what I'm saying? And yes, Matthew Stafford can absolutely come in here and ride on that magical yellow and blue uh ram horse and ram whatever you want to call it, magic carpet, and come in here and win and throw for 400 yards when we know he's got the talent, stuff like that. But it doesn't affect me one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Yes, he's a guy that's got some talent. You know Matt Stafford's got some talent. You know what I'm saying? The way he throws the ball effortlessly 30, 40 yards down the field. You give him Puka Nakua, you give him Cooper Cup, who's always open. Every time I mention Cooper Cup, I say he's always open because he is. You give Stafford weapons like that. You give him a running game, which I'm very interested to see how this game is going to unfold. And he could absolutely come in here and win. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. You know what I'm saying? And I think he's evolved as a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Let's be honest. I mean, he was here. He was hurt, his first couple years, had injury. The team wasn't very good. He was taking a beating, but a lot of those games he was throwing interceptions. Yeah, it was a lot of empty comebacks. Of course, spare me to Cleveland, Dallas, the Raiders on the road. He just never had that signature, like, I'm kicking the door in and I'm getting ready to lead this team. I remember a couple 4 interception games against Chicago. I don't want to seem like I'm bashing him because I'm not, because I realized the
No, I
situation he
get it.
was in. You know what I'm saying,
Bad
Paul?
memories.
He in a better situation right
Yeah.
now. So, you know what I'm saying? So he's a better quarterback right now than he was 8 years ago with Detroit and Calvin Johnson. You know, you had the best receiver on the planet, Calvin Johnson, and it didn't, it didn't pan out how they wanted it. So yeah, that's how I feel about it, man. I'm tired of the Matthew Stafford. Like, let's tribute and give him a
I
parade
think
and
fans should be past that though. I haven't heard
yeah,
anybody talking about standing ovations and all that other bull.
jumbotron videos. Oh man, spare me all that, man. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't. I wouldn't do anything. I heard people say he shouldn't get booed. He should, you know what I'm saying? This is NFL, man. I mean, yeah, you sit in the stands. People might say some things you don't like. You're at an NFL game. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Don't go to the game or whatever. Or don't watch the game if you that offended if somebody says something derogatory. I mean, look at this. Look at this is NFL football, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the game as a whole, he dangerous. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because
Oh, that's
I,
that's
I
obvious, yeah.
yeah, I got a feeling while this gonna be a high scoring game. I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, I can see this game being in the 30s both way. I mean, even Vegas has got this at what 51. I think 51 is over and under. Lions 3.5 favorite. I can see a 34-28 game, 34-29, something like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I think regardless of the fact whether or not he developed any win, there is no whether or not it didn't happen.
yeah.
Regardless of the fact that he never developed, he never delivered any playoff victories. The fact that we only had was it 3 playoff appearances: Dallas, New Orleans, and Seattle. We only had 3 playoff appearances in the amount of time he was here.
Mhm.
Um, Still a hell of a player, talented player. I don't think anybody ever questioned Stafford's heart, Stafford's talent. I think Stafford wanted to get us. I think he wanted it to happen here. And I was talking to someone about that earlier. It's almost as if he won too quick with the Rams because he went there immediately and won, and then it was like afterwards there was nothing really to work forward towards. It's like if he would have went there and lost year one and then
Mhm.
turned around and won year two, I think it probably would have been more gratifying for him. But when you hear how he still talks about the city and how was it Kelly Stafford said that she had to come get him, like he watches Lions games and he he watched the playoff game against Tampa. It
Yeah.
almost gives off the era of Jared Goff has what I was supposed to have.
Mhm. Even though he won a
Yeah,
Super Bowl, he still probably feel like that.
yeah.
Hmm.
Come to bed, Matthew. Got to
Yeah,
come pull this man off the couch at two
on the
o'clock
cup.
in the morning.
Yeah.
Golf's got my playoff win.
Hmm.
I know, Matt. Come on, let's go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but he's
ironically, yeah, he
yeah,
he grew, and then she even said, his wife. He even said, Matthew, and like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm bashing, being mean or anything like that, because I know, you
nah, he's
know
not. I
what,
know.
what I'm saying. I know what he meant to the
He showed a
team. I
lot of
mean,
love to this city too.
yeah, of course. The video he put out, what I'm saying, before he left, I thought that was a class act move, you know what I'm saying? That the stadium, actually I passed by, it's a field, Stafford Field on 7 Mile and Van Dyke. I passed it like a couple weeks ago, you know what I'm saying? That was made in his, with his name on it, that field. So I mean, he's done some countless things, you know what I'm saying, in the community or anything like that. That's beautiful. It shows the kind of person he is. No one's saying talking about his character as a person, you know what I'm saying, because he did contribute to the city, you know what I'm saying, the community from what I understand. So, but on the field, like I say, he public enemy
It's
number
all
one, man.
business.
We got it right. We got to win. But like I said, I'm giving him his props because I think the Rams got a chance to win the game. So, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. All right, man. So let's go to the running back position. I think this is one of the strengths of the team. Not only because Blake Corum, former Michigan Wolverine, is in the backfield, 3rd round pick. I
yeah.
like Kyron Lacy as well. Um,
Yeah.
Very powerful back, shifty, pretty good between the tackles. A guy that they can give the ball to, sort of a bell cow. Has had some injury concerns off and on, but like I said, I do like Kyron Lacy. Everyone here is very familiar with Blake Corum.
With
And
Kyron
oddly
Williams.
enough, yep,
Kyron Williams.
yeah, Kyron Williams and then Blake
Yeah.
Corum.
Yeah.
This is the first time the Rams have actually taken three running backs into the season since 2021. So
Yeah.
that lets you know right there what Sean McVay's whole idea is. A lot of people figure that when you look at Sean McVay and his offense historically with the Rams, he likes to throw the ball a lot, which he does,
Yeah.
but he also likes to run the ball a lot too. You know, him
Hmm.
and Kyle Shanahan come from that same tree. We like explosiveness downfield, but we also like to run the football. We understand how important running the football is. What do you think about Blake Corum with this team? Because I think there were
Hmm.
some Lions fans that wanted Corum here. Why I don't know. After having Gibbs or whatnot, how big of an impact do you think Blake Corum can have for the Rams and Stafford this season?
Yeah, I just seen something, Walt, within the last hour saying that he was going to be may possibly returning kicks. And so I think that uh, he's too talented, I believe, that you can't like put him on the sideline and say, "Hey, here, just you sit over here and watch." I don't think that's the situation with Blake Corum. And I think that he is. I believe that he's an NFL running back, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think with this team and having Kyron Williams, a guy he can, sort of like the Gibbs and Montgomery thing here. You know what I mean? I think that they got it kind of figured out too, like how to, you know, go get those short yards. I think it's important. I think you're going to see it all across the NFL where you got every team's got a couple running backs, maybe three. You know what I'm saying, at your disposal. So um, I believe Blake Corum is a guy that can absolutely make an impact in his rookie season. Sort of like what Kenneth Walker did. He's the first one that comes to mind. Local guy from plays for the Seahawks, and every time you look at Blake Corum, like at least last year with Michigan, he's breaking tackles. That's how I judge a running back. From college. If you can get loose by breaking a couple tackles, going up the middle. You don't necessarily have to go wide all the time because these NFL linebackers, in NFL, secondary guys, you're not going to outrun anybody half the time. Especially like trying to get the ball and make a cut and go to the corner. That barely happens anymore. So I like Blake Corum. He can get down, put his head down, get those tough yards, and I think that's why I think this is going to be a heck of a ball game because with him and Kyron Williams, both kind of similar actually. They kind of got that low center of gravity. Good legs. Strong legs, strong built. Hard to tackle, low center of gravity. Like Blake Corum a lot. Just going off the roster here while Walt's trying to get his camera together. If you look at this team as a whole, I'm looking at the receiver position, man, because I like what I see with this team as far as Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup. Man, I mean, with the offensive line, you got a veteran guy and Kevin Dotson who came over from Pittsburgh. Rob Havenstein's been there forever. You know what I mean? It just seems like he continues. They took our guy, Jonah Jackson. Good signing by the Rams to add him to their offensive line. So, yeah, Walt's back now. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Blake Corum, I think what I was getting at was the offensive line. I think he'll be able to feast on having a good offensive line play. Now, how good, I don't know. I'm not saying they the Lions, but I think it's a good addition. That was a sneaky, nice move by the Rams. I like how the Rams draft, and that was a good move.
Yeah, guys can hear me good. I agree. I look at the Rams offensive line. That was a big issue for the Rams the last couple seasons, last three seasons, matter of fact, being able to keep Stafford upright. They
Hmm.
invested some draft picks in that offensive line. You look at the guys like Bo Limmer, center, um, late round, mid round pick out of Arkansas. You talking about Warren
Yeah.
McClendon Jr., Steve Avila out of TCU, a guy who you and I both talked about during last draft process as being a potential Detroit Lion at some point in time. Whole thing is that's a young offensive line. Outside of
Hmm.
Jonah Jackson and a couple other guys, that still is a young offensive line. So if you're talking about matching up our defensive line against that offensive line, I feel actually pretty good about that situation. You go to the wide receiver spot, Cooper Cup. Cup still gets a lot of respect because when he's on the field, he's still a damn good player. Cup been nicked up a lot the last couple years too. It's like
Hmm.
after year one, when Stafford got that Super Bowl ring,
Yeah,
things that kind of went downhill for him health wise. But still, I think he's a hell of a player. Puka Nakua, I
yeah.
think he's a budding star in this league.
Hmm.
If he's not already a star, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell,
Yeah,
Tyler Johnson from University of Minnesota. I don't know if I'm pretty sure a lot of Lions fans around here who follow Big Ten football know who Tyler Johnson is. And then Jordan Whittington, man. I want to talk a little bit about Jordan Whittington.
yeah. From Texas, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
When he
man.
came out, and people may not believe me, I said to myself when watching him at Texas, aside from watching Adonai Mitchell, um, the fast dude,
Xavier
Worthy,
Worthy.
Xavier Worthy, the Kansas City drafted, he reminded me of somebody that either Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay would fall in love with. And sure enough, McVay went out there and he snatched him up. But he's a 6 foot guy, very
Hmm.
shifty, can play in the
Yeah,
slot, can play on the perimeter a little bit. He's a mismatched nightmare. He's a guy that I believe low key could play a bigger role in this game coming up Sunday night than people really realize. I actually like the wide receiver position group for them. I
me
do,
too. Me too.
especially if Cup stay healthy
Yeah,
with Nakua and Demarcus Robinson, a veteran, Tutu Atwell, very fast, undersized receiver, gadget guy who can do a whole lot of things with the entire Sean McVay's offense. You looking at the tight end position, Davis Allen, Hunter Long. He's a guy who's traveled a lot in this league. Kobe Parkinson is a guy. He's traveled a lot in this league, so I don't really know how much we can really expect out of those guys. Now, if we go to the defense, this is where things get a little sketchy for Detroit, man. Because you talk, even though they're young, Bobby Brown the third, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, a guy that I love coming out this past year. Tyler
yeah.
Davis, Corey Durton is a guy who spent some time here on the practice squad. Tyler Davis,
From Clemson,
yep,
right? Big
prototypical
fella.
nose tackle. I'm talking about a guy
Yeah,
who's 6'2", 320 pounds, I believe. He has a specific role on that defensive line for them. Braden Fisk, especially if he's going to play next to Braden Fisk. I think if he plays next to Braden Fisk, and you're talking about Kobe Turner and then some of those other edge rush guys who we're going to get to in a second, you talking about a defensive line that can really eat. Now, do I think they're going to eat week one against us? Not really. You talking about a really big moment for those young guys walking into this situation. I don't know if they understand right now. They can really grasp the concept of how big this game is Sunday night, how
yeah,
big this game is to Stafford, how big this game is to Goff, the overall magnitude of the playoff implications this game could have in place. But I can see a situation where later on in the season,
yeah.
that Rams defensive line grows together and they turn out to be a force heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and Jared Verse, you know what I'm saying? Jared
Yep.
Verse, a rookie, you know what I'm saying? But like Braden Fisk, but I like what they've done. You know what I mean? It almost seems like Walt, this team is a carbon copy of us. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you look at it, position per position, man on man, is they almost built like the Lions, man. You know, from the backfield, having a two back system. You know, the quarterback situation, both quarterbacks. Even though Goff doesn't have the arm talent like Stafford, I mean, they still drop back passers. You know, look to pass. You know, instead of taking off and running stuff like that. You know, the running. I mean, the receivers. You know what I mean? If you match them up, you know, Puka Nakua is physically imposed, you know, a big strong guy gets open, catches everything, you know, sort of like St.
Huge
Brown.
hands, huge
Yep,
catch
huge hands.
radius.
Right. St. Brown is smaller, you know what I'm saying, but he catch everything. You got Jameson Williams, you know, Khalif Raymond, sort of like the Tutu Atwell. You know what I mean? Man, it's like this is a perfect matchup for week one. I think it's going to be a great game. I mean, now that we're going through the players and looking at like what's to come, it makes you even more on the fact that this game could be like, I remember when, I want to say when the Rams, man, back in their heyday, I think it was, they played the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. The Rams had won the Super Bowl. Kurt Warner, Marshall Falk, Greatest Show on Turf, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, and those guys, and then they wound up after they won the Super Bowl. I want to say they played the Broncos with Brian Greasy and that squad that the Broncos had. And that game, I remember watching that game vividly, man. And that was one of the best games I ever watched. And you know what I'm saying? Greasy was, he was about it anyway. He was going to play and he was going to ball no matter who the hell was on the other side. And he went toe to toe with Kurt Warner. I think the Rams wound up winning the game, if I'm not mistaken, but it was like 37-34, something like that. Crazy. Just I feel this kind of game coming on because I believe Stafford don't want to lose this game. I really believe that, especially from the playoffs. And like I said, I think both teams gonna be free, like the both coordinators, on both sides because they know they can play again next week. You know what I'm saying? And I think they putting out all the stops, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Jordan Whittingham, you can compare him to Isaiah Williams I think they kind of like the same person a little bit, but people sleeping on Isaiah Williams, and he's the guy I thought about. One guy, Walt, I could bring up. Even though we talk about the Rams, I'll just talk about him for a second for our team. He was one guy that I was thinking like, who could be an unsung hero on offense? Not the regular guys we know are other guys, but I think Isaiah Williams, man, look out for him. You know what I'm saying? Because people don't have that much tape on him. So
I'm glad you mentioned that because I thought earlier about Allen Robinson. I don't know if
mhm.
Allen Robinson is going to dress Sunday
Yeah,
night,
yeah,
but this is a guy who played with the Rams last season. If I'm not mistaken, it was either the year before or last season with the Rams, so
yeah,
he knows a little bit. Um, how much influence him being a former Ram played in Brad Holmes bringing him in,
yeah,
I don't know. But would it surprise me? We're gonna get into some prop bets too. About
yeah,
would it surprise me if Allen Robinson, if he scored a touchdown Sunday night? Wouldn't
yeah,
surprise me at all, man. But
yeah, for sure,
um,
for sure. I hear you.
I will say this though. I think one glaring need for the Rams that I think can be exposed a little bit is that linebacking core.
Yep,
You're looking at Michael Holt, Byron Young, who's more of an edge rusher, the guy that's put out there as a designated pass rusher. Jared Verse, we already know what Jared Verse is. Jared Verse's job is to get to the quarterback more than
hmm
anything else. Nick Hampton, Brendan Jackson, Christian Roseboom, Jake Hummel, Troy Reader, Omar Spates is a decent out of Texas, and Elias Neal. So none of those guys, except for maybe three or four players, are really household names.
yeah,
But it all comes down to the system. And if you look at the system, before we even get to the secondary, the Rams do like to run a lot of cover three zone. A lot of three deep safety. You talking about middle of the field close. That's something that Jared Goff isn't comfortable with. Because if the middle field's closed, now you're talking about having to attack the seams with the tight end or whoever that third wide receiver. Normally it would be Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds isn't there anymore. So now you're
yeah,
talking about having to, it's the seams. You're trying to create as many 2-on-1s as you can against that secondary, against that cover three zone. So it's going to be interesting to see what we can do against that cover three zone. But that's what we experienced with
run,
the Rams the last 3 years, what they love to do. Does it guarantee
run,
that's actually what they're going to do tomorrow night? I mean, not tomorrow night, but Sunday night.
run that zone. I'm gonna tell you the perfect antidote for that. Jameson run right by them boys. Jameson gonna run right by them boys if they do that. You know what I'm saying? What's his name?
Or a quick
Yeast.
hitch or a quick
Yeah,
curl, a quick comeback. Yeah.
yeah. What's his name? Russ Yeast. I think we're
Yeah.
number two. Yeah, he barbecue chicken, dude. He gonna get toasted. I mean, if they try to play like that, I feel exactly what you're saying. With Jared Goff, that's a good point by you about that. You try to confuse them a little bit with those, but I'm looking at Quentin Lake and I'm looking at Russ Yeast. Them two guys, man. And John Johnson ain't the greatest
He
either. I mean,
back.
they secondary ain't that great, bro. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. I didn't
John
see
was.
in his
Remember
I didn't
when
see.
John was a Ram initially 2 years ago, he was. Then he left and went to Cleveland, and then things all fell apart. But yeah, I don't think he's the same John Johnson the third that he was 4 years ago. But
Mhm. They run right by them
I
guys,
think they
man.
got some
You know
players
what
like
I'm saying?
Tre'Davious White. I think that's a wild card for them because Tre'Davious that had
Yeah,
two ACLs.
yeah, yep.
He's played like a handful of games the last 2 or 3 years, for that matter. Darius Williams is another guy. They have a habit of letting guys go and then bringing them back. Guys will leave that Ram system, go somewhere else, struggle, then come back. Kobe Durant, he proved to be a
Yeah,
pretty good player.
I like
Cameron
him.
Curl is
Yeah,
decent.
yeah,
Cam
right.
Kitchens, safety out of Miami, University of Miami. At one
Baller.
point in time, he could have been a
Yeah.
first round pick. He's a
Hmm.
pretty good player. We expect good things out of him. Josh Wallace. So their strength in numbers. I don't think the secondary, I think the defensive backs in the secondary, I think they're better than the linebacking core for sure because they got more experience. Now we can look at the front seven, the front four for that matter. It's neither here nor there. But I do believe the secondary could be potentially the strength of this team, at least early on, until those younger guys in the front
Yeah.
seven really
Catch up.
figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, that's a good take. And I agree with you on that. You know, I like Troy Reader too, at linebacker. I
Yeah.
think he's a pretty good player. I like Byron Young from Tennessee. I wanted him in the draft. Like you said, they got some talent. You know what I mean? They do. But I think that if I had to pick one thing, I think while we talking about this, if I had to pick one thing that the Lions could capitalize on, I think is the secondary. You think not? I think so. I think that fast track. To me, this is how I think the Lions should approach it. I mean, how many guys are you going to put out there to let Jared Goff just throw the ball? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think it's going to work if you just say we're going to put 7 DBs out there and just hopefully Jared gonna make a mistake. You know what I'm saying? If you do that, okay, then we're gonna hand the ball off. We're gonna give it to Montgomery and get us down the field and inch us down. You know what I'm saying? If you try to load up, you know what I'm saying, and stop Montgomery, and you know what? We're gonna split Gibbs out in the slot, and then we're gonna put somebody in motion, and we looking for Laporta, and we looking for, and then sooner or later we cross that 50, that's JMO time. You know what I'm saying? Because Golf can get on the ball. They have to be on the other side of the field to do it, though. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, if we go back to that playoff game, we ran the ball decent. Wasn't great. But I think that goes back to that cover three zone. You get the opportunity to throw eight in the box. Because
yeah,
everybody knows for us, it starts with the running game.
yeah,
Offensively as well as defensively. Defensively, if we can stop the run early, that
yeah,
sets everything else off us. Offensively, if we can start running the ball early and have success, that sets everything else off of Jared Goff and Ben Johnson. He gets the gears moving in his head. He starts coming up with plays for JMO and St. Brown and whatnot. He gets more creative with Jahmyr Gibbs for that matter. But yeah, if it's gonna be interesting to see if the Rams shut the running game down early. Because we haven't seen too many teams last season that were able to shut our rushing attack down early.
yeah.
But the teams that were able to stop us early,
Green Bay did last year. I remember that.
we
I
lost.
think,
We lost a few of those games, and
yeah,
Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell don't know who to really put this label on, but they have a tendency to abandon the run if they get behind early. Go back to the San Francisco game. We were running the ball successfully in the first half. We were throwing the ball with some success. Second half came about. Frisco started to rev the engine up. They started making a comeback.
yeah,
We ran the ball 7 times the entire second half.
yeah,
We did the same thing against Baltimore, even though I do understand Baltimore, they jumped on us. So we didn't really have too big of a choice.
yeah.
But my question is, how patient will they be? Because
Good.
they lost patience last season in a few games where the rush attack wasn't hitting early.
Good question. Yeah, yeah, that's a very good question, and that's the number one question with Jared Goff too. I agree with you because,
What up, Trey?
like you said, yeah. What's up, Trey? I agree, bro. I think J-Mo gonna have a huge night. I think it's gonna be his coming out party. I really believe that, man. You know what I'm saying? But I believe that if Jared Goff, like you said, that's the other part of his game while he's got to unlock because it's all good. See, this is how I take Jared Goff. I look at Jared Goff like it's all good when the guy runs, everybody runs their route. You know what I'm saying? Uncovered, and you
Gets
get them,
open,
and you open, and you
easy
get them the ball.
decisions.
Right? You get them the ball. But what if none of that is even? an option. You know what I'm saying? Now what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So, are you gonna get rattled, or you gonna ill-advised throws, or and obviously that's a story with every quarterback. It's not like we jumping on Jared Goff, because that's not the case. But I need to see this, you know what I'm saying, to further my point that the Lions could be one of the best teams in the league. Jared Goff he has to unlock another aspect to his game that he hasn't yet. You know what I'm saying? And he's got and I think good for. I think, well, this is a perfect game for this team, the Lions, to play, because the Rams gonna force the line. This game ain't gonna be 10-3 or 13-6 or nothing like that. The
Might
Rams
surprise
gonna.
you.
I would be shocked
20 to
if it.
17.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. You know what I'm saying? Well, 20. I can see 2017. Yeah, but I think the Rams gonna force us to have to score. You know what I'm saying? And have to play up tempo and have to keep up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Now I think the Rams got a responsibility too, because everybody gonna be jacked up. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's
Oh,
gonna
Ford
be
Field. Yeah, they,
gonna be
they they had
jacked
all
up.
day to drink too.
Oh man, it's gonna be jacked up.
Yeah.
So they got to keep the. You know what I'm saying? Stafford is, he knows. He knows how it is to play. I don't think he experienced the craziness like he did last year in the playoffs. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, like, how both teams try to attack you. It's gonna be a chess match. Maybe you can see the first quarter, 2, 3 and outs or something from both teams, and then until they figure out what both teams are doing. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I believe we can attack their secondary, and you think not, but
No,
I
I
think
ain't say
that's what
I think not. All I said was that I think for them, if you look at the Rams and the youth on that defense, especially in the front seven, I do believe that. And I go back to Tre'Davious White. If Tre'Davious White is healthy,
yeah,
he helps
yep,
them out tremendously.
yeah,
If he's
yep,
not, now you're talking about a young ass secondary outside of John Johnson. John Johnson, he's the veteran that they're counting on because John Johnson has been there before. But
hmm,
that's not the same John Johnson we remember from 4 years ago. Remember, we were talking about Kevin Byard. Was it yesterday or the day before? We were
yeah,
talking about
yesterday,
Kevin Byard and
yeah,
how the Philadelphia Eagles traded for Kevin Byard from the Tennessee Titans, and just like that, Byard kind of fell off a cliff. Not to say that Kevin Byard is completely unplayable anymore, but Kevin Byard went from being an all-pro within Mike Vrabel's defense in Tennessee to going to the Philadelphia Eagles, which turned out to be a dumpster fire last season down the stretch, and things haven't worked out since then. So we don't really know exactly what's going on with John Johnson, what his role is going to be with that team this year. Um, like I said, a guy like Darius Williams, if I'm not mistaken, Darius Williams is on his third stint with them. He's
yeah.
left, come back, and left and come back, if I'm not mistaken. Kobe Durant, I think Kobe Durant came out of North Carolina A&T. He went to a
Wow,
historically black college. Yeah.
wow,
So he was a good player. Kobe Durant was a good player too. But it's like, should we be able to attack that secondary and have success? Yeah. Considering the fact that they're young, they're inexperienced in a lot of positions,
yeah,
cornerback and safety. And not only that, our offense has been together long enough where they should be able to go out there, put the game plan out there and execute it. But like
yeah.
I said, man, on a year-to-year
Facts,
basis,
facts.
we don't know what to expect. Detroit could go out there and look like they sleepwalking. The
Right.
Rams
Yeah,
could, for that matter.
that's true. I mean, and you're absolutely right on what you're saying, because you know, I'm just going off the fact that you coming off a win. I mean, a loss, your last game, NFC Championship game, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe the players, like, we don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? This is a new season. I'm thinking they
Yeah.
letting it fester the whole summer, but maybe that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So I'm figuring we about to run rough shop on everybody because we pissed off. You know what I'm
If you
saying? We lost that
Vildor
game.
festered all off season.
Yeah.
If you was one of those players, I think in them sites in those type of situations, overall, I think teams move on from it relatively quickly.
Yeah.
But if you the guy that dropped the game winning touchdown, or the kicker that missed the potential game winning, game tying field goal from 48 yards out, or you one of those guys, I think it's kind of harder to move forward, especially living in times today where we're all about social media,
Yeah.
where look at Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds dropped that pass on fourth down and had to deal with death threats and all types of stuff on social media.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. 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 And two, I mean, the coaching. I mean, we look at two. Well, we look at the coaching matchup. You know what I'm saying? And then two, like you said, I think it was a valid point. We was talking about Dan Campbell just evolving as a coach. They got Mike LaFleur as their offensive coordinator, Chris Shula's the defensive coordinator,
Yeah.
along with Sean McVay. So I think it's a chess match with the coaches too, man. You know what I'm saying? Sean McVay is like one of the best coaches in the league, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Oh hell
Just,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
he's grown on me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's grown on me. You know what I mean? Because he was kind of annoying at first. You know what I mean? And then it was like, okay, then I can. Oh, you know what? They won that Super Bowl. They beat Cincinnati. I'm like, you know what? This guy, you don't win Super Bowls by accident. You know what I'm saying? I really believe that. What's Jacksonville's coach? The one that was Super Bowl with Philly. Doug
Doug
Peterson. You know what I'm
Peterson.
saying? I think Doug a hell of a coach. I don't know why they ceremoniously got rid of him in Philly. It didn't make no sense to me. Players must didn't like him or something, but it's just some guys that can coach. And I think McVay, he really can coach. You know what I'm saying? He the guy you're gonna see it's already rumors of him, leaving coaching to be an analyst. I mean, he's that smart of a guy where he know like Brady, like Romo, like the rest of them in the booth that knows football. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's gonna be a tough fight. I think Dan Campbell, this is the other phase of Dan Campbell too. I said, where he's gonna have to you know, maybe learn from. Obviously, this is what his fourth year, third year. Let's see. No, this
Fourth.
Dan's fourth year coming up. So Dan's got some seed. You know what I'm saying? Dan can coach. You know what I'm saying? He got a different approach. Maybe people don't take him serious sometimes, or and I do think
I
that
think they take him serious now. I think
now.
the kneecap jokes are kind of over now.
Yeah, I think it. Like I said, everything evolves, and I think just like Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback now. He's evolved. I think Jared Goff is better than he was when the Rams, shipped him out of there. So it's gonna be a hell of a matchup, man. I'm excited. I'm glad the NFL they got the memo, man. The last 2 years with the Lions, opening game last year they got it with Kansas City. They put the Lions on display. Said, hey, listen, this team finished 9-8. Beat the Packers, when they wasn't in the playoffs and ruined their season, pretty much ruined Aaron Rodgers' last hurrah with the Packers. We're going to put them on first game, put them against the champs. You know what I'm saying? Lions come back, beat that team, catapult them throughout the season and win their first division title since 93. Then this year, they seen the Stafford Detroit matchup, how big it was to automatically put that game on Sunday Night Football. It was just the right thing
Oh,
to
the
do.
league loves controversy because
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
during the off season we would once they released the schedule, you and I both was talking about Houston Detroit potentially being that week one matchup, which I still think that would have been a hell of a matchup, but they still made it a primetime game. It's a Sunday night game later on in the season.
yeah. Right.
But
Yeah.
I want to ask you a quick question, man, before we get out of here, though. With all the upgrades that we've made in the secondary, and we all remember how Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua tore us up in that playoff game, would it be? I don't expect you to overreact,
Hmm.
but this fan base remembering how bad the secondary, the cornerback position was, not necessarily the safety position, but how bad the cornerback play was last year. Do you think people will get worked up into a frenzy if these new corners who came in and Carlton Davis and Rakestraw and Arnold go out there and get torched by these receivers?
Oh yeah, yeah. We did everybody. Yeah, we the king of overreaction. You know what I'm saying? Our city, we the kings of overreaction, man. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Even if the Lions lose, let's just say they lose the game, I think it's gonna be some negativity. You know what I'm saying? Like
Dan
toward
Campbell's lost the team.
yeah, toward Goff, or he's right. He's got as far as he can go with this team. Jared Goff's not the guy.
We need to
What else
hire
is gonna
Tony Dungy.
yeah, what what else is gonna be said? You know, fire and Glenn, that's gonna be, you know what I'm saying?
Panay
The
Sewell
kickers,
lost a step
yeah, the
at
kicker suck.
25 years old.
Right. It just, we the king over here. Yes, of course,
Yeah.
Walt. It's gonna be overreaction if we lose. And then yeah, because I told you, I think that them guys might start slow. I mean, out the gate, you asking them cats to cover Nakua, Cooper Cup, Whittingham,
Experience.
like you said. Yeah, they
Yeah.
been right. They need it. I think they're gonna be totally different guys when into October, November. I think it's gonna be a different story. You know what I'm saying? As far as you never know. Well, what if Arnold go out, get a pick or two? You know what I'm saying? What if Rakestraw go out, get a pick? You know what I'm saying? It could easily go the other way too. But I get what you getting. I was thinking the same thing, like overreactions. I just think the Lions will we got too much talent to just to lay an egg. I think them days are over, man. Obviously, you're gonna have one game. When
Yeah.
a good team always went the one or two game. Even Bill Belichick, remember Patriots getting blown out a couple times. You know what I'm saying? One time a year, where you're gonna have a stink bomb, but not the first game, not this game. I
The
think
Dolphins historically used to give Brady and them boys problems.
yeah, yeah. But when it comes down to it, Walt, I think that this game as a whole, just looking to see as a whole, I'm looking for Jameer Gibbs, a steady dose of him. I think that him and Jameson Williams is two guys I got an asterisk by, and that's going to be difference makers, man. Those two guys are difference makers. I think that having a guy like Jack Campbell on defense. I think Jack is getting ready to
His name
take.
been real quiet this
Yeah,
offseason. People haven't been saying much about Jack Campbell either.
yeah. I think you get ready to take over that linebacker room, bro. I think that's how much I think about him. You know what I'm saying? I think that the secondary is the question mark, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's the one position I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? I know we got a lot of guys. I know we got five or six guys we got back there. How is that all going to factor into what we got? You know what I'm saying? I don't know how in the world they going. Aaron Glenn, this going to be his best coaching job yet. Well, think about it. I mean, he's got to figure out what to do with Branch all over again. I think. You know what I'm saying? I think they're saying, well, he's going to play safety, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Melifon, I don't know. Kirby Joseph, I don't know. You don't know where these guys are going to. Maybe it could be a different set of guys every week. You know what I mean? Different
Yeah.
matchup, different scheme. I don't know, but we know what the D line is, and I feel confident that these guys can hold the other team to under 100 yards rushing. I think that's always the magic number, right? Hold them under 100 yards rushing. So I think our D line is going to be okay, but it's just the linebacker and then the secondary for me. So
Yeah. I think we have enough interchangeable parts, cornerback wise as well as safety wise, to be okay. Now, how those guys turn out once the lights come on and that ball is kicked off in the air and the
yeah,
live bullets start flying and you start dealing with McVay and his genius offensively scoping you out and attacking your weaknesses. How do guys come back from that? We were talking about, me and Joe Chat were discussing on the Big Ten Edge podcast before we came on here about how fragile the psyche is of playing a corner, well, playing cornerback in the NFL, especially the NFL. I mean, playing cornerback in high school, college can be rough too, but we've seen so many guys be elite corners in high school,
yeah,
elite corners in college, get to the NFL, get cooked a few games, and then just immediately fall off a cliff and lose all their confidence. We've seen it
yeah,
with Jeff Okuda. Now Jeff was different. I think Jeff went to a bad situation too. He went to the wrong regime. I think they mishandled a lot of things with Jeff. Jeff also suffered that ACL injury his first year, and I think his confidence was completely cooked after that. But it just goes to show you how quickly a cornerback psyche can get shattered. That's why we bring up Terrion Arnold. We bring up Ennis Rakestraw. I think Ennis Rakestraw is different though.
Mhm.
Mentally, I think Rakestraw is a little bit different. He's a little bit more quiet. His game ain't quiet on the field, but he's a little bit more quiet than Terrion is, a little bit more reserved. He seems to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more of a dog, I think, than Terrion Arnold, to say the least. That doesn't mean Terrion can't be a really good player, but it makes me wonder about this secondary. And if because we depending on some young dudes. We don't know about Amik Robertson either. Now he's not a rookie. We don't
Yeah.
know if he's going to be able to make it. Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis, there's Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans who are glad to see him gone.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, like
No,
honestly,
no,
there's
you're
Bucks
right about
fans.
that.
There's Bucks fans that I've talked to that said that we got a guy who was damaged goods. He had the hip injury from a year ago, and there were Rams fans that felt like they kind of not necessarily got over on us because we did sign the dude, but there were not Rams fan, but Bucks fans that felt like, hey, good riddance to him.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to how that player plays within your entire scheme. So, all right, man. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. We do have more to come for Rams week. The big show will be Friday night. We'll be doing matchups, scheme matchups, player matchups. Me and this man will break down from top to bottom who we think should be matched up with who shouldn't be matched up with who, what type of coverages should be ran, what type of coverages shouldn't be ran, who should be blitzing most of the time and whatnot. For anybody that's really into the X's and O's of these games, y'all gonna really enjoy this show Friday night. Hopefully, we can go ahead and get Spirit of Detroit in. Lamar Horton, who joined us, his wife had him looking after the baby. I ain't mad at you at all. I look after my baby a lot
Yeah.
too. It is what it is. But hopefully, we can get Lamar to join us. And like
Yeah.
I said, for anybody who's really into the X's and O's, you're gonna really enjoy this show Friday night because we're gonna really dive into that. As well as Saturday morning. Some fans may not want to hear this, but we're going to discuss a potential trade. Not that we heard anything from the organization, but me and this man are going to discuss something that we've been discussing we're going to discuss something with you guys and gals that we've been discussing over the past couple months. And that's the wide receiver number 3 position. And that's also George Pickens of the Pittsburgh Steelers and whether or not we think George Pickens should be an option for this team if it turns out the third wide receiver position turns out to be a position that hinders us over the long run. So, all right, man, you got anything else you want to say before we wrap this up for these people?
Nah, no, we covered it. We be back. You know what I'm saying? It's
Okay.
season. It's Rams week. Let's go.
All right, let's go, man. Cue our theme music.